Jake sat quietly across from Lily in the dimly lit Italian restaurant, the soft music and candlelight creating a cozy atmosphere that had always been their little escape from the demands of life. This evening, though, felt different. Jake noticed the subtle tension in Lily's posture, her eyes darting nervously around, fingers fidgeting with her napkin. After years together, he knew her well enough to sense that something was bubbling beneath the surface. Then, without any prelude, Lily looked him in the eye and dropped the bombshell. "I've been thinking, maybe we could try something to reignite the spark," she began, her voice forcedly casual but her tone carrying an edge of excitement. Jake chuckled, confused. "What do you mean, Lily?" he asked, trying to mask his surprise. Lily hesitated, taking a deep breath as if gathering courage. "Maybe we could allow each other a free pass. You know, just one night to explore, just to see if we're missing out on something," she said, her words hanging in the air like a thick, unmovable fog. Jake blinked, struggling to comprehend what she had just suggested. His heart beat faster, his pulse ringing in his ears as disbelief, anger, and heartbreak swirled through him. A free pass? He tried to keep his face calm, hiding the storm raging inside him. "So, you want to be with other people?" he asked, his voice steady, though his chest tightened painfully. He had always trusted her, and this suggestion from the woman he thought was his soulmate shattered something fundamental within him. Lily gave a light laugh, almost dismissive. "Not permanently, just once, just one night, to explore, to see what it's like," she replied. Her tone was too casual, as though she were suggesting a new recipe to try, rather than a decision that could rip apart their marriage. Jake sat in silence, his eyes locked on hers, searching for any sign of remorse or hesitation. But all he saw was a glimmer of anticipation, a spark that had once been reserved solely for him. Slowly, he nodded, maintaining his composure. "If that's what you really want, Lily, we'll talk about it when we get home," he said softly. The rest of the meal continued in awkward silence, with both lost in their thoughts. Jake's mind was already racing, formulating a plan. He felt no need to act in anger. No, he wanted to approach this carefully. It was clear now that Lily's loyalty wasn't as deep as his, but he wouldn't be the one to compromise himself. If she wanted freedom, he would give it to her, but not without consequences. That night, as they lay side by side in bed, Jake lay awake, staring at the ceiling. He could hear Lily's even breathing as she slept peacefully beside him, as if she hadn't just shattered his world hours earlier. The memory of her request replayed in his mind like a broken record, each word cutting deeper than the last. For years, he had given her his loyalty, his devotion. He had put their relationship above everything else. Yet, in an instant, she had made it clear that it wasn't enough. Unable to sleep, Jake quietly grabbed his phone and texted his closest friend, Max, seeking counsel. Within seconds, his phone buzzed with an incoming call. "Jake, what's going on? You okay?" Max asked, concern lacing his voice. Jake took a deep breath, recounting everything that had happened at the restaurant. When he finished, there was a long pause on the other end of the line before Max spoke. "Jake, this isn't about you," Max said, his voice steady. "This is about her. She's the one who lacks respect for what you've built together. But if you're willing to stay calm, I'll support you. Just know what you're doing. All right?" Jake nodded, his mind made up. "I want to give her this free pass," he said quietly, "but on my terms." In the days that followed, the dynamic between Jake and Lily shifted subtly. Lily seemed convinced that Jake had accepted the idea and even became more affectionate toward him. She seemed to believe that he, too, would take her suggestion as an exciting opportunity, perhaps thinking they would both explore this newfound freedom together. Jake, however, watched her carefully, observing her every move, analyzing every word. He could see through the facade. Something had already been set in motion, and he was determined to uncover the truth. One evening, as they sat together watching TV, Jake casually mentioned, "So, have you thought about who you'd use your free pass on?" Lily seemed caught off guard, her eyes widening momentarily before she quickly composed herself, laughing nervously. "It's not like I have anyone in mind, Jake," she replied. "I just thought, maybe we both needed something fresh and exciting. Don't you ever get bored?" Jake forced a smile, masking the bitter taste of her words. "Bored? Not really. But I understand if that's how you feel." Inside, he felt a surge of anger, but he kept his voice calm, his expression indifferent. He needed to gather more information before making his move. Behind Lily's back, Jake began laying the groundwork. He met with a lawyer discreetly, setting up the necessary steps to protect his assets and prepare for a potential separation if things went south. He organized his personal documents, made copies of everything important, and even began moving some belongings to Max's place under the guise of spring cleaning. Every step he took was calculated and meticulous. He was preparing himself for what he knew might become the end of their marriage. Finally, Lily decided on a night to use her free pass, casually mentioning that she would be going out with some friends. Jake feigned indifference, wishing her a good time as she left, but the sight of her dressed to the nines, her perfume stronger than usual, sent a pang of resentment through him. He clenched his fists, forcing himself to stay composed, merely saying, "Have fun, Lily." As she walked out the door, Jake poured himself a drink, taking in the emptiness of their home. Every corner, every piece of furniture, held memories of a life he thought they'd shared exclusively. Now, those memories felt tarnished, tainted by her betrayal. He glanced at the clock, the hours ticking by as he imagined what she might be doing, with whom she might be spending this free pass. The thought was agonizing, but he forced himself to endure it, knowing that his resolve would be stronger for it. In the early hours of the morning, Lily finally returned home, her makeup smudged, her expression a mixture of smug satisfaction and awkward guilt. Jake greeted her casually, concealing his knowledge and his hurt. She seemed almost surprised by his lack of interest in questioning her, as if she had expected him to be jealous or outraged. Instead, he simply said, "I hope you got what you wanted out of it, Lily. I hope it was worth it." The next morning over breakfast, Jake decided it was time to confront her. "Did you enjoy your free pass, Lily?" he asked, his tone deceptively light. Lily laughed, brushing off his question with a casual wave of her hand. "Jake, it was just a one-time thing. Don't take it too seriously. We're still us, right?" But Jake's face hardened, his calm exterior finally beginning to crack. "Are we?" "Because it doesn't feel like it," he replied, his voice thick with years of unspoken sacrifice. He stood up from the table, his anger simmering beneath the surface as he finally voiced everything he had bottled up inside. "Do you even realize how much I've given up for this relationship, Lily? How much I've put into building this life with you? And you, without a second thought, decide a free pass is what you need?" He saw her stammer, caught off guard by his intensity, but he didn't relent. "You wanted freedom, Lily? Well, congratulations. You got it, and now, so will I." In the days that followed, Jake continued his silent withdrawal, coldly distant as he put his final plans into place. He had everything prepared, his finances, his documents, and his own sense of peace. All that remained was the execution. He waited patiently, knowing that the time was drawing near for him to give Lily the farewell she would never expect. Finally, he told her they needed to have a serious talk and invited her out to the same Italian restaurant where she had first proposed the free pass. As they sat across from each other, Jake pulled out a neatly folded document and placed it on the table between them. "I wanted to give you something," he said, his voice calm yet cold. Consider it a gift in response to your request for freedom." Lily's eyes widened as she opened the document, realizing it was a separation agreement. She looked up at him in horror, struggling to process what was happening. "Jake, this isn't what I wanted," she exclaimed, her voice breaking. "I just thought we could add some excitement. This doesn't mean I don't love you." Jake remained impassive, watching her with a detached gaze. "Love and loyalty aren't temporary passes, Lily. You wanted freedom, and I'm giving it to you. This is your free pass, the last one you'll ever need from me." As he walked away from the table, leaving Lily with a mix of regret and desperation, Jake felt a surge of unexpected relief. There was still pain, still anger, but he was ready to move forward. And he knew that, before this chapter closed completely, there was still one final piece of his plan waiting to unfold. As Jake walked out of the restaurant, leaving Lily stunned with the separation agreement in her trembling hands, he could feel a sense of justice building within him. Yet he knew that this simple document, no matter how shocking to her, was only the beginning of her reckoning. She had underestimated him, treating his loyalty and dedication like a worn-out sweater she could simply toss aside. But Jake had other plans, plans that would make her realize just how costly her freedom would become. In the days that followed, Jake continued to distance himself emotionally and physically from Lily, who, now aware of the gravity of her mistake, desperately tried to win him back. She would leave him voicemails filled with tearful apologies, send long messages admitting to her momentary weakness, and even beg him to come back to her, swearing that nothing happened during her so-called free pass night. But Jake wasn't moved. He had decided to remain composed, to stick to the plan he had carefully crafted since that fateful dinner. He'd stayed with her, listening to her excuses and apologies, merely nodding in response, but offering no comfort. He wanted her to feel the full weight of her decision, to live with the hollow, agonizing silence of a marriage stripped of trust. After a few weeks of this tense stalemate, he moved out of their shared home and into Max's apartment. For Lily, this was the final blow. She knew she had pushed him too far, and now, with him gone, she had no one to turn to. Jake's departure left her in a whirlpool of confusion and regret, and her attempts to reach him only fell on deaf ears. But as Jake settled into his new life, he decided it was time to take his plan to the next level. It wasn't enough for her to experience a few weeks of silence and absence. He wanted her to feel the sting of betrayal just as deeply as he had. One evening, as he sat with Max, Jake outlined the last step of his plan. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Max asked, concerned. "Yes," Jake replied firmly. "She needs to understand what she did, to know what it feels like to be discarded. She took my loyalty for granted, and I'm not going to let her walk away unscathed." Max gave a reluctant nod, recognizing the determination in Jake's eyes. "All right, I'm with you. Whatever you need." The next day, Jake set his plan into motion. He knew Lily's circle well enough to know who would listen to a juicy bit of gossip, and he knew just how to ensure that what he had to say would reach her. He contacted several mutual acquaintances, sharing vague but suggestive remarks about how he was moving on, about finding someone who values loyalty. Word spread quickly, and soon Lily caught wind of the rumors. Her curiosity, mixed with jealousy and panic, grew, gnawing at her as she wondered if Jake had truly found someone else. One evening, as Jake returned to his apartment, he found a series of frantic messages from Lily. "Jake, I just want to talk. Please, if you're seeing someone, I need to know. I still love you. I know I made a mistake, but we can fix this. Just call me, please." Jake ignored her messages, letting her stew in the uncertainty. But the final blow came when he decided to post a carefully crafted message on social media, announcing he was grateful to be moving forward and building a future with someone who values the commitment and trust that relationships are built on. Lily's reaction was immediate. She called him, her voice trembling, begging for an explanation. But Jake didn't answer. For hours she left messages, her tone growing increasingly desperate with each call. When he finally picked up the phone, he remained calm and detached. "Jake, is it true? Are you really seeing someone else?" she asked, her voice thick with panic. "What does it matter to you, Lily?" Jake replied, his tone cool. "You wanted freedom, remember? I'm just giving you what you asked for." "But I didn't mean... I thought we could still be us," she stammered, struggling to find the right words. "I was wrong, Jake. I know that now. Please, just come back." Jake let her words hang in the air before responding. "No, Lily. This is what you wanted. I was willing to give you my loyalty, my commitment, but you tossed it aside. Now you have to live with that choice." Over the next few weeks, Jake continued his slow withdrawal, meeting with a real estate agent to arrange the sale of their home. Every piece of their shared life was slowly dismantled, a symbolic unraveling of the trust she had shattered. For Jake, each step felt like a balm to the wound she had inflicted, while for Lily, it was a torturous process, watching the life they had built slip through her fingers. In a final act of closure, Jake decided to meet her one last time. He arranged to meet her at the same Italian restaurant where she had first suggested the free pass. This time, though, there was no romantic atmosphere, no cozy nostalgia, only the remnants of a love turned cold. Lily arrived looking exhausted and fragile, her eyes red from sleepless nights. Jake waited calmly, watching her as she sat down across from him, unable to meet his gaze. "Jake," she began, her voice barely above a whisper, "I know I hurt you. I thought that having that freedom would make me feel alive again, that I could come back to you like nothing happened. But I was wrong. I lost sight of what we had, and I know now that I'll never find it again." Jake listened, unmoved by her words. He could see the regret etched into her face, the realization of what she had thrown away. But he knew better than to fall for empty remorse. "Lily," he said quietly, "when you asked me for that free pass, you didn't just ask for one night. You took the heart of our marriage and traded it for a thrill, a fleeting feeling that was more important to you than everything we built together. I've spent weeks letting you feel what it's like to be alone, to live with the silence of what you did. And now, I'm ready to move on." Lily's eyes filled with tears as she tried to reach for his hand, but Jake pulled back. "Please, Jake. I don't want to lose you. I'll do anything to fix this. Just give me one more chance." Jake shook his head, his expression resolute. "You already had your chance, Lily. You wanted a free pass, and now you have it. A free pass to move on without me." He stood up, leaving her sitting alone in the restaurant, the reality of her actions crashing down on her. Jake felt a strange mixture of relief and sadness as he walked away, knowing that he had stayed true to himself. He had given her every opportunity to keep his trust, but she had chosen a different path. As he walked out into the cool night air, he felt a weight lift off his shoulders. His journey through heartbreak and betrayal had brought him to this point, a place of strength, self-respect, and newfound freedom. And for the first time since that fateful night, Jake felt whole again, ready to embrace the future that awaited him.